Nqaj everyone. Today I'll be showing you guys how to make a stuffed bitter melon soup. You either like it or you either don't like bitter melons. For me, I grew up eating bitter melons, a lot of bitter food as a kid, and I've grown to like bitter melons. And there's a lot worse bitter food out there. I'm pretty sure some of you guys know what I'm talking about. But today I'll be showing you guys a very simple stuffed bitter melon soup that I grew up eating. This version does not have any bean thread noodles or mushrooms in there like what you'll see in most versions in Vietnam. You guys can go ahead and take this recipe and add other stuff in there that you guys like and make it your own as well. But today I'll just show you guys a very simple version of this, and hopefully you guys give it a try. Even if you don't like bitter melons, I hope you guys love it someday. And let me know what you guys like to eat with bitter melons and what you like to cook with it. And yeah, we can go ahead and start cooking this, so let's go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to make the mixture, the meat mixture. We're going to marinate it and let it sit while we take care of the bitter melon. So here in a bowl, I have about 1.5 pounds of ground chicken thighs. You guys can use pork, beef, whatever protein you guys like, but we're just going to be using chicken thigh today. And to this, we're going to season it. So the first thing we're going to add in there is some black pepper. This is a mixture of black and white pepper. You guys can use just black pepper or whatever you guys like. Add that in there. We're going to also add in some fish sauce. And then we're also going to add in some salt. And we're going to add in some oyster sauce as well. Add this in there. So that's in. Now we're going to add in our herbs as well. So these herbs are what I'm using today. So what I have today is some fresh chopped cilantro here, same with some green onions, about a cup each. And then we also have about 1 lemongrass chopped up really finely and 1 shallot chopped up really finely as well. So we're gonna add all of that in there. And that's about it. So a lot of recipe calls for like bean thread noodles. You guys can add those in there as well. Some wooden mushrooms, but I didn't grow up eating like that. So we just grew up eating with cilantro, green onions, lemongrass, and like salt, pepper, basically is that, and also some fresh pepper if you guys want some. But this is totally at this point optional to add whatever you guys want in there. It's really up to you guys. So we're just going to go ahead and mix this up really well. Okay, so this is nice and mixed. We're gonna let this sit aside and marinate a little bit while we go ahead and hollow out the bitter melon. So we'll set this aside. Okay, so I have my bitter melons here, and I'll show you guys how we take care of these. So basically, I have 3 here that I'm gonna use today. You don't need much. So what we're gonna do here is cut just the ends here a little bit off. Same with this side here. And then we are going to cut these into thirds. Thirds here. And then in the insides here, we're gonna hollow out the inside here. And what we're gonna use is a butter knife. If you guys have one, or any paring knife will work just as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up as well. Chop the bottoms up really fast. And if you have shorter ones like these, you can just do it into halves like this. And the reason why you can do it bigger is because what tends to happen if you make it smaller is when you fill it, a lot of the filling just comes out when it's boiled. So we're gonna make it a little bit longer and stuff it, and then once it's cooked, we'll take it out and cut it into smaller pieces. That's just how we do it. You guys don't have to. You guys can cut it into smaller pieces if you guys prefer. But at this point, it's all preference. Alright, so all of these are nice and cut. We're gonna go ahead and hollow it out. So we're gonna take one of these here, and all you're basically gonna do is, I have a butter knife here. It's just easier to work with. You guys can definitely use a paring knife, but we're just gonna go through inside here and hollow it out. Just like that. And you're just gonna keep going down in there and hollow out as much as you can. These are a bit skinnier bitter melons, so sometimes it's harder to hollow out anyways. You guys can definitely use a spoon if you guys have a small spoon that can actually fit into the crevice. But yeah, that's pretty good. Nice and hollowed out. Alright, so I'm going to continue and hollow all of these out, and then after we're done with that, we can go ahead and stuff it. So we'll just take care of the rest. Alright, so I finished hollowing out the bitter melons here, nice and hollowed here. I put the filling in a pastry bag. If you guys don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. I just did it so it's easier to fill. Typically, you can fill it with just a spoon and put the filling in with a spoon. It works just as well. But for easiness for me, I'm just going to use a piping bag. Put it in the bag here and pipe it in there. Alright, so for one of these here, what I'm going to do is just grab one of these here, the piping here. Just go ahead and pipe this. And don't fill it too much because it's actually going to double the size. So, just like that. Alright, so these are nice and filled. I have a lot of filling left over, and what we're going to do with these is to make little meatballs out of them, because a lot of people tend to not like the bitter melon, and a lot of people tend to eat the meat in the soup. So we're going to do that today. So now we are going to go ahead and start cooking this, and in the pot here I have about 8 cups of water in here, and we'll bring it to a boil. And to that we are going to go ahead and add in the stuffed melon that we stuffed earlier. Alright, we're going to go ahead and add this into the water. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cover this up and let it come to a simmer and cook for a good 8 to 10 minutes. And then after that, we can go ahead and add in some of the extra meat that we have left over. Alright, so it's been about a good 10 minutes of simmering. At this point, you can tell that the bitter melon has turned a different color, not as bright and green anymore, which is totally fine because that's totally normal. I have some of the leftover filling here. I'm gonna go ahead and use most of it and pipe little meatballs in there so we can actually have some extra meat to eat it with. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and pipe and use scissors here to help me cut little meatballs. Okay, so the little meatballs are in. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in some aromatics in there as well. So I'm gonna add in some lemongrass in there just for aromatics. And then I'm also going to add in some sliced up chili peppers. You guys can add as much as you want, depending on how spicy you guys like to eat. And then I'm not going to season it yet just because the meat has a lot of seasonings in it already. I'm going to let this come to a boil for a good 5 minutes and then taste it, and then I'll add seasoning to it as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this up and let that come to a simmer again. Alright, so it's been a good 5 minutes. At this point you can go ahead and taste it. And at this point the bitter melon should be nice and soft, so you can use this toothpick or whatever you guys want to insert to make sure it's actually soft. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and taste it for seasonings. Okay, so I tasted it. It needs a bit of salt in here, so I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt. This is about a teaspoon of salt actually. And then I'm also going to add in a half a teaspoon of chicken bouillon seasoning. Alright, I think that's pretty good. It's a little bitter. Alright, I'm going to turn off the heat and we can go ahead and serve this up. So I'm going to pour some in here. Since these are a little big, what my mom tends to do is she'll just cut these. She will usually just take a scissors here and cut these into thirds. Ooh, that's big. Perfect. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We can garnish this with some more cilantro and green onions, and then we'll serve it with rice and just eat it with rice. Pretty simple, pretty clean and healthy. Not much to it. Looks like a little poop.
Ew.